Mr. Kemp.
Well, I'd like to hear from some other board members about whether or not they're serious about trying to implement all-day kindergarten. Because to sit here and vote no on the motion at hand is saying that, well, you know, you still want to hold all-day kindergarten or you don't. So you really don't have your cake and eat it too here. It's going to be very easy to vote no on any of these budget reductions and still expect to have all-day kindergarten. So either you vote to try to get all-day kindergarten, or you play the political game and you vote against every cut that we might have to propose. So I'd like to know what the thinking is.
Mr. Kemp, this has nothing to do with all-day kindergarten right now?
I know it doesn't, but the handwriting is on the wall.
Because all-day kindergarten is in our budget right now. So I am just making a suggestion that we reduce the 3 that are in our regular classroom.
I understand that, but
So voting no or yes does not say whether you want full-day kindergarten or not. As far as I'm concerned, if
I realize that it's not part of the motion, but the practical implication here is if we're going to try to have all-day kindergarten, we need to be voting to accomplish some cuts in order to achieve it. And if we come up with 4 to 3 votes all the time, it really isn't saying very much about whether you're serious to do it or not.
I just respond, sorry. The only reason I made this motion is I really don't believe we can go to the town, the mayor, and ask for an 8.58% increase.
No, I agree.
Okay. I don't want to have the back and forth. We'll go through the chair, please. Ms. Sarn had her hand up.
No, thanks.
Seeing no more hands, the motion is to reduce the FTE count by 3, reducing the budget by $207,000. By show of hands, all in favor? And that's unanimous. Mr. Nicholson.
I would like to make a motion to remove the all-day kindergarten.
I have a motion from Mr. Nicholson to remove all-day kindergarten. Do I have a second? I am not seeing a second. Ms. Sarn, you had your hand up.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't think that I am not approaching this budget looking for cuts that equal all-day kindergarten. I think all-day kindergarten is necessary and important, and I don't feel I need to justify it by making cuts in other places, and I don't think that Mr. Kemp should be assuming that that's how board members are thinking or should be thinking.
Mr. Kemp.
I wasn't assuming anything. I asked you to state your position as to whether or not, and nobody did, but we are conservatively speaking about $2 million away from where I believe we need to get to.
So with the $207,000 reduction, that's putting us around 8.1 still, I believe, 8.1% plus or minus. Maybe a little less than that. Ms. Golich.
Through you, sir, Mr. Kemp, you think we're $2 million away from a budget to send to the town? How did you arrive at that figure?
I did some quick
Mr. Kemp.
I did some quick math, and to take us to roughly a 4% figure, it would require a 4% increase in the Board of Ed's part, would require about a $2 million additional reduction from where we started at the beginning of the evening. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Ms. Sarn.
Just to further clarify, is that your opinion, Mr. Kemp?
No,
About
that's
where we need to
the.
be? No, about where we need to be, or is that some information you have that I don't?
Mr. Kemp.
That's my judgment as to where I think we probably need to get to. A 4% increase on the part of the Board of Ed. If you picked a 5% increase on the part of a Board of Ed, it would be $1 million and a significant number of hundreds of thousands, and we're nowhere near a 4 or 5 or 6% increase. We're in the 8% range. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars that need to come out of this Board of Ed budget if it has any chance of passing through referendum, never mind the town council.
Ms. Arndt?
Why don't we propose what we think is necessary and essential for the town, for the students, to do the right thing by them, rather than playing that game in advance of? That would be my position. Let somebody tell me where this budget needs to get to. Certainly not a board member. I would expect board members to be supporting what's in this budget.
Mr. Mickelson?
I think board members have a responsibility to not just spend money and look at the impact on the town. There's not unlimited amount of money to be had. And I've been in this town long enough to know big budget increases aren't going to get through. And I've also been on the board long enough to really find it a wasteful exercise where we send a budget knowing it's not going to get past the mayor or the town council and do it anyways. Why don't we spend a little time being productive instead of taking time to send a budget that we all know is not going to get through. And that's not saying we don't educate the kids, but reality is reality. We have to get it down to a level where it's reasonable, and 8% is not reasonable. 4%, as Mr. Kent mentioned, I even think that may be pushing it. The reality is, the people in this town don't have unlimited money to spend. Their taxes have gone up considerably last year and this year. And to ask them to spend more, you're also ignoring the reality of not everybody has kids in school. They have no skin in the game. You have a lot of people who aren't going to vote support a huge increase to the school budget. So we need to operate in the world of reality, not the world of wishes. And there's a lot of wishes. It would be perfect to have unlimited money to spend, but spending it wisely better than spending it.
Mr. Person?
I see both sides of the issue there. What I'm thinking is no matter what we send over there, it's going to get cut. Last year it got cut because we realized savings in health medical benefits after we sent it over there. The mayor cut all of our capital improvements, and then he cut an extra few $100,000, as I recall, that we had to find. This town has not supported education for the past 4 years. Maybe because it's our fault, as a board, we haven't requested what we need. You can look at the past 4 years and it's been averaged just over 1%. And in that 2010-11 budget, all of it was medical insurance of that 3.76. So I don't think we as a board have done our job requesting of the town what we need. And when you say that, Mr. Nixon, when you say parent or people don't necessarily have kids in the school system, but a lot of people have had kids in the school system. You still support the school system even if you don't have children in it. It's a good school system brings up your property values. Plain and simple. Thank you.
Ms. Goldich?
Well, I think that one of the realities, the other reality along with the money side, is that we have failing schools. We are in the bottom 30 schools in school districts in the state of Connecticut. That has to change. We can't keep doing what we've been doing with a 1% increase and a no percent increase all these years and expect anything to be different for our children. People who don't have children support the school system because someone supported them when they were in school. So we have to do a realistic budget to raise 21st century citizens, and we have to be part of that process.
Mr. Kemp?
You know, there's a statement that we have failing schools, I don't think is not my opinion. There are some grades that are not being achieved by some students. There are students that are going on to fine colleges and getting an excellent education in the Vernon Public Schools. And the state can label us as they wish, and we have to take it. The only benefit to this is that we were 28th out of 30. In a way, thank heavens we weren't 31st. There's some town somewhere that is 31st. And they won't get a dime. It's almost an irony that we're getting $600,000 because we are 28th in their definition. But there are a number of seniors that will go on to some very fine educational opportunities beyond Rockville High School, and that is something that is a result of a successful school system. I think it might be instructive, to the point Terry is making, if the board members had a clearer idea of just how many students are involved in our grade results. I don't think the average person in town knows whether we have a problem with 50 kids or 500 kids. Because as a board member, I'd like to know if we were to implement our resources towards those 50 kids to help address those grade accomplishments, would that do it for us? Or do we need to be focusing on a greater number of 500 kids? I don't know the answer. Nobody has given me that kind of information. Do we have a 50 kid problem, or do we have a 500 kid problem, or somewhere in between?
Mr. Percy?
We have approximately 3,450 kids in our system. I don't think 50 students are going to drag us into the bottom 30.
I don't know.
And I understand what you're saying, Mr. Kemp. I'm not trying to get into a banter back and forth, but there's almost 3,500 kids in our system. There's got to be more than 50 struggling, or we would be where we are.
Ms. Sarn?
For the sake of discussion, I'm going to propose a motion, see where the board is. I'm going to move that we reduce the budget by $347,083, which would be the dollars saved if we reconfigured and instituted all-day kindergarten.
So the motion is to reduce the budget by $347,000, which is, how did you say that, approximately the amount that we would save with a reconfiguration and instituting all-day kindergarten? Did I get that right?
Yes.
I have a motion.
Is that math right? Could you explain the math of that?
I thought it was 315,000.
I confirmed figures with Mr. Picaro. Maybe we could ask Mr. Picaro.
Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
If we're looking at the transportation cost, moving, facility modification, and we add the additional transportation, according to my numbers, it come out to $347,000. But we can reconfirm those numbers.
So 347 is a good number, and again, it's aligned with the assumption of reconfiguration and instituting all-day kindergarten. I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second by Mr. Percy. And is there discussion on the motion? Mr. Kemp?
I'd like to understand what the expectation is for implementing all-day kindergarten, whether that's phased in, whether it's 2 schools, 5 schools, what is it?